this is kind of an emergency BBC in the sense that it's stemming from a message I got a while ago, but I didn't get it. It went to, somebody from Turkey. Somebody from Turkey wrote a message to the website, and it a couple of weeks ago, I think, and it just reached me a couple of days ago, so I thought I should talk about it ASAP. So I think, as you all know, there's been 3 earthquakes in Turkey. The first day it started out with 2, and they were both above 7, which is really big. And then a couple of weeks later, I think it was just last week maybe, or maybe 10 days ago, there was another earthquake that was 6 point something. So again, that's, how many of you have been in earthquakes? Anybody? Oh, okay, yeah. Sometimes it's just been little, Yeah, but if you've ever been in these big ones that shake, you shake along with them. So somebody had written, and she lives in Turkey. She didn't say where, but her mental state, she was really seeking guidance, because she said she looks all around and there's this destruction, and then not only the suffering of the people who have died in the earthquake, but the people who survived. It's not like if you survive, everything's hunky-dory and your life has never changed. And so she was feeling helpless and hopeless, okay? And helpless and hopeless are 2 kind of emotions that I would say people a lot of the time feel. Depending which people you're talking to and so on. And depending upon what their expectations are, how they view life, whether you see something as helpless and hopeless. I think if you've done a lot of meditation on impermanence, it certainly helps, because, there was an earthquake, of course. We live in an earthquake zone. There's going to be earthquakes. How come we think there's never going to be earthquakes? Yeah. Apparently the contractors in Turkey thought there weren't ever going to be earthquakes, and they didn't make very good buildings. So, thinking about impermanence is very helpful. Thinking about the nature of samsara, people dying prematurely. Yeah, that's the nature of samsara. Now, the thing is, you can listen to what I'm saying and say, well, yeah, she's just reinforcing helpless and hopeless. Everything's impermanent, it's going to change, we're going to lose it. Samsara is always full of suffering. Of course, there's going to be suffering, and people are going to get killed before their lifespan's out. Yeah, see, I told you, it's hopeless and helpless. Yeah. That's not how you use the meditations. You use the meditations on impermanence, on dukkha, to remind ourselves that maybe our expectations are too high, and that maybe we need to put our feet on the ground again. And then you say, well, what's wrong with having, most of the time our expectations are fine, they get met. Yes, well, we're living here in a prosperous country. Duh. Many places in the world, if you had the same expectations we did, forget it, because it's not, those expectations aren't getting met. But just to kind of, if you're a Dharma practitioner, you have the opportunity to use these things to create a stronger aspiration for liberation, yeah, and to create stronger compassion for others, yeah. Then, if you're feeling overwhelmed, hopeless and helpless, your compassion has been mixed in with other stuff, maybe with, our blinded view that everything in our life is going to be handled, able to be handled and isn't going to be so bad. And that's, we have compassion, but as long as it's somebody else's suffering, or as long as it's our suffering, but we can change it, do something about it. So it's hard to actually discern what it means to be compassionate in this kind of situation, because it's so easy to go to hopeless and helpless. Yeah, and it's very familiar to go to hopeless and helpless, isn't it? Yeah, somebody automatically, it's like, there I am, But that's not renunciation. And that's not the compassion that the Buddha's schooling us in. Okay? So that's one chunk to think about as Dharma practitioners, how to look at things. Of course, when you're talking to somebody who's not a Dharma practitioner, you don't go, well, the whole everything's impermanent all the time, so why did you expect no earthquakes? Or don't you know that the nature of samsara is suffering, so people are going to, go through all these kinds of horrible things? You don't say that to somebody who's not a Dharma practitioner, because they have no way to put it in a good framework. They just know the framework of hopeless and helpless. Okay? Then how do you put it? Because you want to give some, you want to console the person in some way and help them have a more upbeat attitude, because when you're hopeless and helpless, whatever compassion you do have doesn't get acted upon because you're too busy sitting in your own despair. Yeah, do you see that? That when you're upset, when your afflictions are roaring, it doesn't have to be hopeless and helpless. It could be anger and jealousy and arrogance. But whenever they are roaring, any ability to really help others is vastly impeded, because the mind is just like this. And the topic may seem to be others, and I'm upset because they're suffering, but we don't know what to do with it, so we just go round and round in circles about it, okay? So I was thinking about this, and because, between the war in Ukraine, which is something that I have a lot of strong feelings about, and the earthquake in Turkey. After all, I did grow up in Southern California, which is renowned for its earthquakes. I've been in them. Then how can you look at these kinds of things? And I was thinking about it. When I feel hopeless and helpless, I'm looking at the past and wanting the past to be different, and feeling frustrated because I still have that childish wish to be able to banish all suffering by going like that, or asking Peter Pan to come and help. But some way, there's this wish that I should be able to solve all the problems of the world, I don't know if you felt this when you were kids. Mine wasn't a heavy thing, but it was like, boy, there's a lot of suffering. I want to do something. But what can I do? I'm a kid living in America. Now I'm a kid, kind of an older kid. An older kid living in Washington State. What can I do? I don't know. Even if I went to Turkey right now, I don't know how to rescue people out of rubble. I can't even bow to the Buddha now. My back is so bad. And you're asking me to take away concrete pieces of rubble? I mean, I wish I could, but I can't, you know. So what am I going to do? I can sit here and worry. You know, in your practice, you could do some Tonglen, you know, taking and giving. That's very helpful. But also, it's like, what I'm hopeless and helpless is I want to change the past. And I want to change the present in an unrealistic way. And I was thinking, you know, the people who have died are already dead. Getting hopeless and helpless doesn't help them. You know, if I want to help them, then this is the time, like we were saying yesterday, creating merits and dedicating for them, or doing meditation and imagining all the people who have been suffering because of the earthquakes, you know, the light from the Buddha shining into them, dispelling all the suffering and confusion and so on in their minds, all the afflictions that lie at the root of this. So that's the thing to do now, is deal with the present situation. Yeah, and so how can I help people through my practice? You know, I can do Tonglen, I can do the Buddha practice, I can dedicate merit for them and so on like that. How can I help them realistically? Well, you know, we gave some money to to International Rescue Committee and Doctors Without Borders. So that's what we can do here. There have been some people who have gone over there, yeah, but I imagine the people who've gone to help, they have the skills to be able to help. If I went, I would just actually be in the way, you know, and they'd be saying, look, get out of the way, we need to, you know, somebody's stuck where you're walking, you know, please move so we can get them out, or whatever it is. So trying to be practical in that sense, and doing what needs to be done in this moment that could actually benefit the people, you know, setting up tents. Yeah, it's not great housing, but it's something. Bringing in blankets, bringing food, bringing medical care, you know. And I was just thinking about what it's like for some of those people. When I was thinking their whole life in a few minutes completely changed course, and everything that they had, that they expected to be there, at the end of the day is not there. I mean, not only is your family and your friends disrupted and you don't know who's alive, but you don't have a house, you know. You don't even have a change of clothes with you. You don't have your driver's license, you know, because you were wherever you were when it happened, and, you know, you couldn't empty out your refrigerator before you ran out of the building. So you're there, and you really, you know, have nothing. And apparently the government in Turkey has not been too helpful, and in Syria neither. So, you know, helping in these kind of practical ways. And the person that initially wrote me, I got another thing from her yesterday or the day before, and it seems she wants to do fundraising because she's a psychologist, is she? I think in something or in that field, and recognizes that the people who survived have also been traumatized, and they're going to need, you know, some therapy and counseling, and trying to, you know, develop some resources to give that to people, which I think is wonderful. You know, the difference between the first emergency email to the website of, you know, help, I don't know, I'm stuck in my emotions, I don't know what to do. And then this one of, I'm starting something and I'm gonna try and carry it through. So that's been good. So she's really found something to do that is beneficial. Yeah. In terms of us here, we've sent off some offerings already, individually, and Venerable Chuni found from Suchi Foundation that they have something until February 28th, which is Tuesday. There's apparently somebody who will do a matching grant up to $1 million for aid to Turkey. So I think it would be nice if we kind of got some funds together. Today's the 26th, got it in the mail tomorrow, and sent it to Suchi. For people who are listening, Suchi is Tzuchi, and it's an organization that was begun by a bhikshuni in Taiwan. And it's a relief organization. They go wherever there are natural disasters to help the people there. And they have branches all over the world. It's really quite impressive. We have some friends in Singapore who belong to the branch there. And every morning, the main nun, Bhikshuni Chun, how do you say her name? Chunyan, so she started this organization, and she will give talks every morning that are, listened to live by all of her centers all over the world. And whenever there's a disaster, these people just get to work, and they actually go there, not just sending aid and so on. One thing they do, that they're very environmentally conscious, and they're one Buddhist center, I think, that asks you to bring your own dishes so you don't use styrofoam and pollute the world. Rah! Hooray for that. But also they take the plastic bottles, water bottles that we use and throw away, and make them into these very beautiful warm blankets. And so, that would be, I think, very helpful to send to Turkey and at this time. It's not very warm there now. So, so that's the ideas I have, for how to help in terms of your practice, how to help practice practically, and to just. It's a teaching for us in that the same thing could happen here. Yeah, this isn't a particular earthquake zone where we are. I was very aware of that, looking for property for the Abbey. I didn't want to be in an earthquake zone. Of course, you can't always control that, but there's certainly other things that could happen around here, some of them human-made disasters and obstacles. So just to get used to it in our mind and think of how, if such things could happen, how we could use the Dharma to keep our minds steady so that we can actually be useful in this situation. Okay, and one thing I think to do that is really think about what it would be like in some of these other situations. For example, an earthquake like this, or in a situation where your freedom is suddenly dismantled by turmoil in the country or by who knows what is going on anymore. But just, okay, my life could drastically change, and how can I look at life so that I can remain clear and compassionate during hardship. Yeah, because that's the real test of things, isn't it? And I remember very clearly, what was the monk's name who wrote the book, who spent so many years in prison, who came to DFF? Pelding Gyaltso, yeah. And he wrote in his book of, because he got imprisoned also, of hearing one time they were questioning one Geshe really harshly, the interrogators, and he was crying and asking them not to kill him. And for Pelding Gyaltso, that was like, whoa. Somebody who knows the Dharma, who's practicing like that, at the time of crisis falls apart. Yeah, and so it really struck me. It's like, yeah, that's very easy for that to happen, and very easy for me to do. I don't know how many of you belong to. There's also a new group. We have High Achievers Neurotic Society, but we also have WIMPs incorporated. So some of us are also WIMPs, yeah? And that's not the time to be a WIMP. Yeah, you have to stand up and do something good. Okay, so do other people have ideas about how to do this? I mean, because I was especially thinking of her. She's in the country, and she is Turkish. So, and I don't know her, but other people have other ideas. Anything? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think if I was in that situation, I would try to kind of band together with others and just see what we can do that's positive. I think in this kind of situation, everybody wants to help, and it might be easier to not be so alone.
Yeah, very much, I think. Yeah, because it is beautiful that the hopeless and helpless comes out, but the I want to help also comes out, and people really reaching out to each other, because I was reading that, when you're in a catastrophe like that, it doesn't matter your social class. It doesn't matter your race, your religion. I mean, these guys, I saw them digging out one dog. That really got to me. Some little dog that was caught in the rubble trying to get out. People just reach out and help. It's quite amazing. So to get yourself, if you're together with other people who also want to help, not who want to feel overwhelmed, but who want to help, you could do something.
What came to mind is religious organizations. They often can mobilize a lot of people and coordinate support, so reaching out to them in particular.
Yeah.
And maybe, cross-faith collaboration, it could be a nice time to do that.
Yeah, we're kind of trying to investigate what other groups are doing, and and see how we can help. We don't need to set up our own thing, but it's better to help others who are already involved in that work. Yeah, so that's why we sent to International Rescue Committee and Doctors Without Borders to start with. In our hearts, to remain connected to people in all different sorts of situations, and not just get into our own little isolated thing of, what's happening in my life and the crises in my life. I can't even tell you about it. But to really think of what's going on in the world instead of my own little drama. Okay. Because retreat is very good. You know, you can see your potential, but you also see your dramas. Yeah? Are you seeing your dramas? Yeah. Yeah, all of our dramas. Oh, she's talking too long. Lunch is cold. Oh, I don't like when lunch is cold. It bothers my stomach, you know? And I am later in the line, and why am I always at the end of the line? And yeah, we change it on Wednesdays, so the line's in the rear first, but I'm still in the middle, and I never get to go first and get the first grabs. And, this great suffering that we experience, yeah. Okay.